Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Broyans Farm. Good morning, Dace. Hi, Lil. A little update here down at the pasture. Yesterday, Frank started right here, which was in my previous video, and got about halfway down the backside of this fence, which was a huge amount considering how much was here and how much he had to do, weed whack, cut, all that kind of stuff. Here's one of the stumps that he sawed off, but you can see he's still got a lot more to go. All this stuff is gonna get cut out, but his plan is to first go through and clean all of the briars out, which I'll show you what it looked like down here, because it is just an absolute wall of briars and weeds and vines and all the other crap. You really can't even see daylight through these briars, that's how thick it is. And so he's just going along, taking it at a steady pace. I told him not to kill himself because obviously this stuff is very picky. You could hurt yourself. He's, I would say, a little over halfway. Right up there's the Kubota, and he's got to go down here to, well, you can see it right here. That's the end of it. That's not the end of the pasture. The pasture goes down across the creek and then over by the woods over there. But this is where the briars really stop. The whole reason of doing this is so that it never has to be done again. It really shouldn't have had to be done now, but we kind of let it get out of hand. And this is where we're at. So in order to operate the pasture, get the electric running through it, we have to get this done. And so to hope that this never happens again, or to prevent it from happening again, what we're gonna do is go back through now with tore down and tore down all of these briar stumps and tree stumps, whatever it is. That way they never come back. You can see them sticking up out of the ground. My main goal today is to finish working and fixing up the lower high tunnel so that way we can get plastic on it. But first, I gotta be here in the greenhouse because I gotta get some seeding done. Certain things like the hot Portugal did very poor, which right here you can see. We have the Tiburon, which is, I think, Poblano. Don't quote me on that, I'm pretty sure. And then the Hot Portugal, which is right here. You can see only two plants came up. There might be one or two down there, but still out of about 250, only about 6 came up altogether. And so my dad just sanitized these. I'm gonna plant those, so they'll probably do really well, I'm gonna assume. Then we're also trying a new sunflower, which is called the Sunflower Smiley. And I'm also gonna do the old, but yet still good, sunflower Rio Carnivals. And then I'm also gonna do the giant 6-foot tall sunflowers as well. As you can see here in the seed room, I haven't been seeding for a while just because I haven't needed to. And it shows with nothing really being in here besides the last thing that I planted, which is our field peppers. And they are just starting to come up right now. Hoping they do good, but we'll find out in about a day or two. You can see these just coming out. One thing that doesn't go in the seed room after being planted is the cole crops. Now these are actually for our field. Graham and Pop are working on planting the cole crops just for retail sales right now, which is right there. They're already up like that high. And now these just started coming up about a day or two ago. And then after these get grown, they'll get transplanted into a 6-pack as well. But instead of being sold then, they'll get planted in our field. Today I'm pretty sure is about the nicest day we've had so far this season. I'm in a short sleeve shirt and I could be in shorts, which I'm wearing pants. And I think it's gonna get up to like 70 today. And we actually had to turn on our big vent fans, which is down there. I don't know if you can see the louvers open right now and the fan's turning around. And so if we don't have that on, just the doors being open doesn't do enough and it'll get way too hot. So that pulls all this air through, and actually that door down there should be shut so it doesn't keep sucking air like this around in circles. It just pulls it from this end all the way through and out that end. It's been so long since I seeded, my dirt actually dried out. And since I'm gonna be doing quite a bit of seeding now for like the next week or so, I might as well get this wetted down and it'll be good then, well, for the next week. Our sunflowers that go in the 6.5-inch pots get planted in these 104 cell seed trays, compared to things like the cilantro and peppers and tomatoes, which go in the 512s. And the reason they go in here is because the cells are a lot bigger, the sunflowers grow a lot faster, and they need more room to grow to get as big. If they were planted in here, they would probably grow, I think, but it would fill that cell up in about 2 or 3 days, and it would dry out extremely fast. And so I'm still gonna use the same soil that I used for my other seedlings. They just don't get planted with a seeder. That's gonna be done by hand. And so there's really only 2 ways to do this. And that is put them in a little bin or tray, whatever you want to call it, and pick them out with the tweezers and put them in each cell, or do it the way I do it, which I think is faster because I've done it both ways, and kind of just roll them through your finger and try and drop only 1 in each cell, which sometimes I get 2, and then I just go back through and remove those doubles. And so now that my whole tray is filled, I'll just take my finger and press them in, I don't know, probably like a 1/2 inch. Sunflowers really don't like to be planted deep, and I found that out only by experience of planting them too deep and then not having near the stand that I would like to have. So now that sunflowers are done, I'm gonna move into the 512 trays. First thing I'm gonna start out with here is the cilantro. A lot of stuff that I'm planting now is the second planting or third planting for some things, but for cilantro, this is actually the first. I guess because cilantro grows so fast. I will do a second and probably a third planting, but it grows so fast that if I would have planted it before this, it would have been way too mature by the time market started, or by the time people were ready to start planting it. Make my impressions. Now cilantro is kind of a smaller seed, so I won't go as deep with it. Typically, the bigger the seed, the deeper I go. And I'll drop it in my tray holder. And we're ready to begin seeding. So it turns out I was completely wrong about the seed. These seeds are huge. I gotta fill a couple back in, but it did really well for the most part. Sometimes with the bigger seeds, they'll bounce back out. My microphone stopped working, so I'm gonna explain what's going on here. Dad's been working to get this fuel tank off the tractor. He finally got all the bolts off, got everything loose, and now we're in the process of taking it outside onto his truck so he can wash it, and then we can go take and get it fixed. So here's what it looks like now after the fuel tank is out. That's one of the fenders, and then the other fender, he just kind of propped up against the tire. And then all this is kind of just a little bit of like dirt and debris. He got a lot done today. He's really on the home stretch. He's only got about 15 yards, 20 yards left to go. And then he's basically in the clear open. So he's gonna finish that tomorrow. I think he said he's gonna make it. And then it'll just be the job of getting this whole brush pile picked up and throwing it down there in the ditch. My dad just went through with the tordone and tordoned a lot of the stumps that he got cut, just so they don't grow back, but it doesn't seem like he finished them all. I don't see any blue. The tordone's like a bluish color, but up here, and this is just awesome walking through. Like this earlier today was just an absolute wall, like I showed you, of briars. And so that has the tordone on it right there. You can't really tell because it's like a darker color, but trying to find a blue one. Here. There's one with the tordone on it. So that basically will kill everything right down to the roots. It'll never go back again. And now we can just bring our batwing mower through here, obviously once the brush piles are out, and we'll never allow it to grow back up again. So here we are now the next day. Frank and I are starting out bagging corn. We already got, I think, 19 done. Jojo, my cousin, just showed up at the greenhouses. I got her started. She's starting to transplant the seed geraniums into a 4.5 inch pot. And so while she's doing that, we're gonna finish up this, and then Frank's gonna get down and work back on the pasture.
I'm not gonna say I'm like that all the time, but sometimes it's my worst enemy. It makes
seems a little light.
I thought so.
Okay.
But it's okay.
Actually,
Not too bad. It's definitely a little light, but I don't think it's too bad.
there's only a couple of those. So we're in the region. I mean, I've been doing this long enough, right? You've been doing this long enough.
So Frank and I are done bagging. Once we get them bagged, we set them over on the left side of the scale. They get weighed and then they get stacked over here. So all these ones are done, which is like I think 40 or 38, something like that. And well, we just had one tip over. Usually happens about once every time. So we'll put the bag on the scale, and then right here is our weights. So we have it set for 51 or 52 pounds. 51. We have set for 51 pounds. So that means if the scale is down like that, the bag is light. If it's up, it's heavy. If it's in the middle, it's basically perfect. So this one, I can tell just from lifting the bag up like that a little bit, it's not heavy by much. So all I'll do is take my scoop, take a little bit of that corn out, and you can see how the scale went down. Put a little bit back in, and the bag is perfect. And that was all the corn that had to come out. So he put that bag on, the scale never went up. So that means the bag is light.
You can see that.
It's also very windy today, so that makes it 10 times harder. The bag's gonna blow around and everything. And so he's putting some corn in. Oh, done. Okay.
There it is. I mean, it's on.
I just got back in the greenhouse. I got to do more seeding today. This is going to be more like my herbs. I got basil, and I got regular basil, I got Thai basil, I got sage, parsley, oregano, all that to do. You can hear the dosatron clicking. Mom is fertilizing right now. It really wasn't supposed to be this sunny today, but now we have this crazy wind and we have all this sun. It's really drying everything out. So she decided she's going to do some fertilizing. So she's down here right now working on the verbena, and I'm gonna walk around because she's on the phone right now. But the verbena is now just starting to come out and blossom. Some of them are flowering. You can see them here. And then down here we have, it's like a pinkish, and then red are right down here. I just got out here to the greenhouse at the market. The strawberries are really growing. You can see all the new fresh green leaves on them. There, 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 there. I'm looking to see if there's any that's not growing any green leaves yet. But for the most part, they look really good. Here's one. But I see some green down under. I think that one still has potential. So Dad and I just got the corn unloaded. I got it stacked. Now we're gonna head back to the farm. I just got done seeding for the most part. I still have to do time, but I can do that tomorrow if I don't get back to it. I'm gonna head over to the shed, see how Dad's making out. He took the gas tank or the fuel tank to a local shop to get that worked on. And he also picked up a new radiator for the International because that was leaking as well. So now we have one thing getting fixed, and I think he's putting in the radiator right now. What are you working on now?
Just fender the whole time.
Oh, putting it back on.
Yeah. So the emergency brake assembly, all this. Oh, I changed the transmission filter while it was all apart.
Did you ask him if they had a new handle or no?
No, I didn't. He wasn't there.
Oh.
He called me on the way home. I'm gonna call him soon before he closes and see how he's making out. The tank can slip in there. I wouldn't want to put that fender on.
Yeah.
But, so I'm not far ahead now.
Gotcha. That's why I wasn't sure if you were working on the radiator.
Well, that's next.
Oh, okay. Taking a walk down here to the pasture to see how Frank's making out. Figured I'd stop and check out the garlic. Every time I come out, it grows a couple more inches. Wow, so Frank really got a lot done today, like he does every day, really. And he said he got it all weed whacked, which is what he did. This is kind of the tricky part because the creek runs through here and it's all, you know, up and down and it's hard to stand. But over here was the really hard part, because if I can jump across, this is where it was just an absolute mess, like I showed you before. And so now basically he's done, just besides these trees he's got to get cut down, which isn't that big of a deal with the chainsaw. And so he's going to get this done hopefully tomorrow, I think. Then we're going to come through with a bigger chainsaw and cut these big stumps down, and then we'll be good to go. So that's what I'm going to call it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.